Also, a sad story coming out this week involves another Iowa athlete, of course, Caleb Brown. So, the wide receiver was arrested early Sunday for operating while under the influence and possession of fictitious identification. So, he's 20. At 2:25 a.m. on Sunday, so Saturday night going into Sunday morning, Iowa City police observed Brown driving near his home in Iowa City with a significant front end damage to his vehicle, including a wheel turned completely sideways. According to police, Brown backed his vehicle onto a lawn and began spinning the tires before being stopped. They observed bloodshot, watery eyes. That's a quote, slurred speech, poor balance, and alcohol odor on his body. And then also, again, that backed up by breath tests and other sobriety tests. And then also discovered that he had a driver's license that showed his age as being over 21.
So I have a very unique take on this. And I, published something yesterday when the news initially dropped regarding Caleb Brown. One being, I want to preface this by saying I am not in any way defending driving while intoxicated. Whatever led to the damage on his vehicle might have been a result of that. I'm sure the criminal investigation will uncover that, I would assume. Certainly not going to defend a fictitious ID and drinking underage. Okay, you can have your opinions on that if you'd like, but that's not where I'm coming from at all. As it relates to the impact on the field, I think it's negligible. I think it's little to none. All right. And I'm saying that a little bit more pointedly right now than I did yesterday because I've had a lot, it's amazing. It's the off season, and this isn't like the first time this has happened. This happens fairly regularly. Just 2 off seasons ago that Jamari Harris got picked up for OWI. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. It is. But as it relates to the legal consequences, he paid his dues, and he paid his due with Iowa as it relates to the team's code of conduct. Same thing happened with Amir Smith-Marset. Same thing happened with former Iowa basketball star Peter Jock. Same thing happened with Tristan Wirfs. I can go down the line. These are young players, young guys. It's not okay, but people make mistakes. So that's the first thing. I'll make something else clear. In the state of Iowa, possession of a fictitious ID is a serious misdemeanor, not a felony. Okay? So I want to make that very clear. This is a serious misdemeanor. Not an aggravated misdemeanor, a serious misdemeanor. So as it relates to the impact on the football field, he's likely to be suspended 1 game. If somehow the criminal investigation uncovers that there's more to the story, his front end of his vehicle apparently was really damaged. Let's just, I hate to even do this, Mark, but let's just play hypothetical here for a second. If we find out later that he hit 6 cars in a parking lot on his way home because he was drunk, yeah, that might warrant more than a game. That's destruction of property because of negligence due to being impaired. But we don't know that based upon the charges. I'm not going to read into the fictitious ID thing because it's a serious misdemeanor. Iowa will handle that behind closed doors. That's my guess. Okay. But as it relates to the OWI, the standard Kirk Ferentz has set is 1 game, whether you agree with it or not. And it's amazing when I hear the different people's opinions. You can go through my video that I posted yesterday and some of the comments. Everything is polarizing in today's society, as we just talked about with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. But even this subject became polarizing. You got people on, I had one person say he should be kicked off the team. And then I had another person say, who's the victim? Apparently implying that it's okay to drink and drive. So my point is, let's try to be balanced here. Acknowledge that it is not okay. He does deserve to be suspended, whether you think 1 game's enough or not. Based upon the standard Kirk Ferentz has set, that's likely what he'll get. And also acknowledging the fact that Caleb Brown is a young 20-year-old kid who's a college kid. He's going to make mistakes. Based on what I was told when he initially transferred, and I haven't really heard much, my source with this when he initially transferred in told me this kid's a really good kid. Based on what they knew about him during his high school days. I didn't know anything about him at Ohio State other than he was highly touted and didn't really see the field much. So, like the comments somebody made earlier about, let's talk about Caleb Brown's character. So let me get this straight. You make a mistake, and that means you have bad character. Who in their right mind, and let me quote Steve Dace for a second. What sentient being would ever claim that anybody in this world doesn't make a mistake? And some of us make very serious mistakes. In fact, all of us, I think it's fair to say, all of us make serious mistakes at some point in life. Now, maybe different degrees of seriousness there, but you may never have, driven drunk and gotten caught, or, maybe you never drink at all. I don't know, but like, you've made mistakes. I guarantee you, if you were a college student at one time, you likely did stupid things as a college student. We can acknowledge that without defending Caleb Brown. I just think it's unfair to a young man to act like, the kid's got bad character. He's a bad egg. You got to pick up on this stuff during recruiting. I mean, give me a break. I don't know. Like Tristan Wirfs, think about his career. I mean, he had some, again, similar situation. Jamari Harris, he's had some, I know he also got, you could make a further argument, I guess, with Jamari because he had some issues with the gambling stuff that lost him some time on the field. But I've talked to Jamari Harris on multiple occasions, face to face. The dude is as genuine as it gets. I don't think I talked to Caleb Brown last year at media days. I'm not there regularly for media availability, but I just think sometimes, these are the experiences. I even said yesterday on social media, and somebody didn't like this comment. Can we find a silver lining? Again, it's not a good thing. It's unfortunate. Does he deserve to be disciplined? Yes, absolutely. But is there a silver lining? And to me, there are silver linings here. One being the fact that this potentially poses opportunity for some other guys to make a statement week one for an offense that is desperately in need of a statement to be made, especially with the passing game, especially with the wideouts. And you could argue the other side and say, well, they don't need their top guy to be out due to OWI to have ambition to make a statement. Sure, but human nature says, I would think, that Seth Anderson, Jacob Gill, Caden Weegan, all those guys, etc., now see an opportunity, at least one spot higher on the depth chart due to their teammates' mistakes. So that's where I see this. And as Barbara said in the chat, absolutely. Silver lining is he did not get hurt. We don't have any reason to think he hurt anyone else. And hopefully it's the first and the last time that he does that. But I'm not going to cast aspersions on a guy for making mistakes, because I've made plenty.
Yes, we all have. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with forgiveness. I completely agree with second chances, third chances, fourth chances, balanced by wisdom and accountability. So that can be argued all day as to where you draw that line. But concerning Caleb Brown, we're just talking about a first incident. So there's no reason to talk about what could happen in the future. This is all that's being dealt with right now, is obviously based on everything that we know of his track record at Iowa at this point, and for that matter, Ohio State, is that he's been completely clean to this point in every such way in terms of his conduct. And so this is a first incident to be taken seriously, should be dealt with, held accountable. And then once, in my estimation, that transgression is accounted for in whatever way, suspension, then it's completely forgotten and you move on. And a true second chance and forgiveness means that you completely move on and you act as though it never happened.
Yeah, and I think, going back to my initial statement that I think the impact will be very little, I stand by that from the perspective of, yes, I get that it'd be nice to have all your guys ready for week one with a new offense and a new offensive coordinator. I understand that. However, they don't need him to beat Illinois State. If they lose to Illinois State, it's not because they didn't have Caleb Brown. It's because something else far more disturbing occurred. All right. So, and I thought I saw someone else make that. I think it was a Husker troll made the comment that it's the one position Iowa can't afford to lose a guy to. I'm like, what are you talking about? When have they ever won? When's the last time they've won a game because of wide receiver play? Are we really going to act like? I mean, like, yeah, they need good receivers, but they've won almost every game in the last 3 to 4 years, dude, in spite of receiver play and in spite of quarterback play. So yeah, they want good production there, but here's where this will come into play, Mark. This will come into play more so week 1 if other guys go down to injury. Seth Anderson dealing with injury during the spring. He's not available week 1. Say Jacob Gill is not available. And, then you're kind of like, okay, we're playing younger guys that aren't ready. What are we really getting out of this? Yes, they're getting some experience. What I want to see is of the top 4 or 5 receivers, and I think I have a pretty good idea of who those guys are. I just want to see some of those guys, whether it be 2, whether it be 3, whether it be 4, make plays on that first Saturday against Illinois State. Kaleb Brown will be back for the game against Iowa State. He does have plenty of high major game experience. No, he's not some seasoned veteran that's made a bunch of big plays in his career, but he's been through football in the shoe. He played a lot for Iowa last year in Big Ten conference games. He'll be ready to go week 2 against Iowa State, and he'll practice throughout fall camp, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, so the silver lining concerning the football you just outlined, it provides opportunity for others, and maybe it brings a Kaleb Brown back to the field who's more motivated, understands the consequences and what he went through, and maybe wants to show that he belongs and make it up to his teammates.
And like I say, if it does create any more ambition and drive from the guys behind him, that will only push him, because he'll realize, hey, I screwed up, and now I got to make up for lost time. It's like it's worse than being injured, right? Because an injury is out of your control. Sometimes you're still going to have to make up lost ground when you're hurt, but you did this to yourself. So to me, there's more of a sense of, I don't know, just being able to recognize that and use it to become better and be a better leader. As you said, a lot of young guys in this room. A lot of young guys, from the 3 guys that came in as freshmen last year, none of which enrolled early, to the 2 receivers they have coming in as freshmen this summer, neither of which enrolled early. It's a young group.
And the silver lining off the field is entirely up to him, as you outlined. That's up to him to be a better person and so forth going down the road.